Hello, Dr. Ali and everyone. My name is Nikki, and together with my team members Olivia, Kaibin, and Rina, we'll be presenting to you on the analyzation of the operations management issues faced by our selected company, Apple Inc. So here is a brief introduction of Apple. Most of us are no strangers to Apple, as they are one of the biggest companies in the world, and they are founded as the Apple Company in year 1977. They have since grown by leaps and bounds to establish themselves as the most valuable company in the world and are the largest technology company in the world by revenue in year 2022. They have strong standings as a mobile phone and personal computer manufacturer, placing second and fourth respectively, and are one of the big five American technology companies. Sales of tech device forms their core business functions, with services only accounting for about 18.7% of their revenue. No company in the world are without its share of problems and issues. So our team had identified three areas which Apple are facing on their operations management strategy. The first issue under supply chain management caused by COVID disruptions will be presented by Kai Bin. On inventory management issues, it will be presented by Olivia. And the last issue on Apple having no product variety will be presented by Rina. So without further ado, I'll pass the time now to Kai Bin, who will share more with you on issue number one.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaibik. Today, I'll be talking about operations management issue that Apple faced during this COVID period. So let's get a look at the Apple supply chain process. First, sourcing. Apple purchased raw materials from suppliers around the world, mainly China. Second, manufacturing. Raw materials will be sent over to China for assembly process. Third, warehousing. Finished products will be sent over to the central warehouse in California or India warehouse by UPS or FedEx. Fourth, finished product will be sent over to the distribution channel by in retail store wholesaler. And lastly, return. Return products will be sent over to the Go Green program. Next, in America, Fortune 1000 is a list of incorporated companies and corporate companies in the United States. From the picture, you can see that more than 750 companies are facing distribution on their business. Second, around more than 900 companies are having supply chain issue during this COVID period, and at least 500 companies are reconstructing their business due to COVID situation. And Apple have been facing these three issues during this pandemic period. Firstly, Apple does not have an agile supply chain process. In such, they are not responsive and flexible during this kind of situation, and they are not sure of what to do. Next, Apple's supply chain broke down during this pandemic period as the suppliers are unable to respond to their needs and wants on time. Next, demand for Apple products is affected due to their responsiveness from their suppliers in terms of delivery timing are not met. In this slide, we can see that Apple is going well in financial year 2021. Sales revenue has increased by 22.8% this last year. But as such, due to the supply chain issue during this COVID period, the CFO of Apple mentioned that their sales loss might increase from 4 billion to 8 billion by quarter 2 this year. And as such, Apple share dropped during March 2021 by 2.2%. We recommend Apple to build an agile supply chain network so they will be prepared for any changes in the future in this market, such as COVID period or logistics services breakdown in future. Next, they should consider developing their own manufacturing and assembly facility out China, such as in Asian country, Northeast Asia. So this will help them to increase their self-reliance and minimize disruption caused by external sources. Thirdly, if self-manufacturing is not viable, Apple should consider more connection in their supply chain network to cover more areas, such as the countries having a high demand of sales every year.
Next, we shall be taking a step back into Apple's history to take a look at an incident in 1995 when Apple underestimated forecast demand for their Power Mac and coupled with component shortage issues ended up losing sales. In 1995, Apple was facing declining sales as competitors were coming out with various cheaper home computers. At this point, Apple had poor sales with prior Power Mac launches and had excess inventories of stock which was facing becoming obsolete soon. Therefore, Apple's demand forecast for their new line of Power Mac was very conservative. When the actual market demand was more than what they had forecasted, they were caught off guard. Apple at this point of time also had only a few select suppliers who were able to produce specialized components to build their computers. When these suppliers faced a shortage of their components, Apple had no other suppliers to turn to, and this inflexibility actually exacerbated the issue. Apple had a large backlog of sales orders to fulfill, and customers had to wait up to 2 months to get their orders. This incident, along with a couple of quality issues bugging a separate Apple product line, strong competitors and obsolete inventory caused a loss in sales, loss in market share, and a drop in Apple stock price. Here we can see this Apple timeline, whereby we can see that Apple stock has dropped to an all-time low, and profit for Apple also dropped during this period, as compared to Microsoft and Google. Coming back to our present time, Apple is facing somewhat of a similar situation. With a global chip shortage and disruptions caused by the COVID pandemic, customers are experiencing longer wait times and stockouts due to this. From the chip shortage before the pandemic to lockdowns imposed in multiple countries all over the world, we can see the massive disruption caused to Apple during these 3 to 4 years. Apple is now looking at a loss of $6 billion in sales in quarter 4 of 2021 and a 3% slump in share prices after Apple CEO tamped down expectations for the next quarter. Most of the losses in sales can be attributed to supply chain constraints, COVID-related manufacturing disruptions, and lack of raw materials. As demand for electronic devices and products shot up to an all-time high during the pandemic due to work and study environments shifting online, sales do have the potential to pick up, especially for Apple's higher-end products. However, with most of the disruption and shortages erupting upstream in the supply chain, Apple will have to find ways of increasing their inventory to meet demand while preventing too much of an increase in cost. Here we can see that Apple CEO Tim Cook also admitted that the global chip shortage, along with strong demand for their products, could affect the company more than they have already experienced. Ultimately, Apple is a strong brand with a loyal customer base who are willing to wait longer periods for their Apple products. However, Apple will still need to think of ways to retain some customers who would otherwise turn to competitors instead of waiting. These are some of our recommendations to Apple on the mentioned inventory issues. Firstly, we would recommend Apple to place warehouses strategically in locations with historically high sales figures and maintain a cycle inventory to reduce impact of future global disruptions. This may not be able to eliminate the inventory issue, but it would help to alleviate losses in sales due to such disruptions. Also, reducing the number of stock keeping units or SKUs can also help to create more accurate demand forecasts, as we are focusing on fewer SKUs rather than trying to forecast for a huge range of products. Being able to generate more accurate forecasts can help in operations, improving turnover, and reduce the risk of large amounts of inventory becoming obsolete. We will also recommend Apple to allocate more capacity for buffer inventory for high demand items. Also, we will recommend better management of cycle inventory to increase demand responsiveness. Cycle inventory is necessary to ensure the optimum performance of the business. Properly managing cycle inventory also helps in avoiding overstocking, stockouts, reducing holding costs, and retaining a necessary amount of safety stock.
Now we'll look at no product variety for iPhones. Good operations performance aims to do things better with better quality, better services, better flexibility, better cost, and so on. This gives the organization, which is Apple, the power to compete with its competitors. We'll be looking at better flexibility and specifically product flexibility, which is one of the 5 operational performance objectives. Product flexibility is one of the competitive factors important to the smartphones market, and we can see from evidence later that customers' expectations in variety is changing due to globalization. This slide shows the different iPhones Apple has produced over the years. We can see that each year Apple produced 1 or 2 different models of iPhone, which shows that there's no product variety. In recent years, Apple has produced the lower priced iPhone mini, but they are still pretty expensive as they are priced at over $1,000. We will now look at Apple's iPhone's 4V profile, which is high volume, low variety, low variation in demand, and low visibility. This is the perfect combination for reducing costs. But we have mentioned customers' expectation for variety is changing. They have higher expectations on quality and variety. Now we'll look at one of Apple's strongest competitors, Samsung smartphones. Samsung has two main series, which is the S series, the premium series, and the A series, the lower priced series. Research shows that in 2021, the A series accounted for 58% of Samsung smartphone sales. Now, meaning there is a strong demand for smartphones that are lower in prices. This slide shows the financial performance and market demand in 2019 and 2020. We can see from the picture here that Apple has the largest market share. Xiaomi, which is another producer for lower price smartphones, has the largest year-on-year growth. So this suggests that market demand for lower price phones is still growing. Now we look at 2020 versus 2021. We can see that Apple still owns the largest market share. However, the gap of market share between Apple and Samsung is reducing. And year-on-year growth, Samsung has higher percentage growth compared to Apple. Again, this is suggesting that market demand is changing and there is still a demand for lower price phones. The recommendation for Apple is to have more product variety. Apple can consider incremental innovation. The focus will be on concept generation. Apple can get ideas from competitors' activities, customers, and staff to have a better understanding of the market's position. Bear in mind that innovation is expensive, and Apple must always measure the performance of their innovation in terms of sustainability. Alright, we know that with higher variety, costs will go up. Apple can combat this by mass customization. They can segment their market and produce one type of iPhones in high volume for each market segment. This will keep the cost low. Okay, so these are the recommendations that we deem suitable for Apple in this point of time, which is to have more product variety. However, this is not the solution forever. Market demand is always changing due to globalization and other circumstances. There will always be new operations agenda, and Apple will have to come up with newer and better operation strategies that are sustainable in the long run.
And now we come to the conclusion of our presentation. Proper operations management has increasing importance due to the ever-evolving dynamics of the market, and as operations management strives to satisfy both the internal and external customers. Supply chain and inventory management are key areas which Apple must continue to focus on, and they must continually be able to adapt to uncontrollable changes in the market like COVID-19 by tweaking their supply chain and inventory management strategies. Apple should also not be short on awareness on how the market is leaning towards mid-range smartphones. So if they do not adapt to the changes of the changing circumstances, it will lead to Apple losing its competitive edge in future. With Apple stand to preserve their premium status, they stand to lose out on the lower end market segment. So they should definitely consider diversifying into this segment for the company to further increase their revenues and profits. Apple as an organization needs to continually weigh their pros and cons of their operations management strategy and continually measure their operations performance. As new operations management strategies will require costs for implementation and maintenance, Apple must ensure that they constantly review their practices and find the balance between cost and efficiency so that they can have prolonged business continuity. We now come to the end of our presentation, and we thank you for your time.